Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to episode 105 of Word Ninjas Live. I am your instigator of creative and literary insanity, Charles. And joining me tonight are my regular co-hosts. Wrong mouse corner. Will.
Hello.
And we kind of killed Justin. Sorry about that.
Well, hey, I'm here. I'm good.
And Calvin.
Hi. It's CJ. I'm not sure if you were aware, but you rhymed at the beginning of the podcast.
I was not aware. Do I get
episode
XP
100
for that?
I believe you deserve at least 5 XP for that one.
Yay.
At least 5. Dungeon Master, what do you say?
1,075 more to go for that level up.
Little by little. Alright, tonight we are going to talk about productivity technology. But for once, I'm not going to be doing all the monologuing. This time it's all on... Which one is it going to be? Hey,
Don't say me.
Justin?
Don't say me. Don't say me. Oh, good. Thank God.
And he's muted.
Derp.
Still muted.
This professional A game tonight.
Is his mic playing tricks?
Oh, no.
Maybe the cord came out?
Cue technical difficulty musics now.
That's on you.
Calvin, we need technical difficulty music.
I really hope we don't get sued for that one.
If you're talking, we still can't hear you. Alright, so I'm going... Okay, I won't mute and unmute him, see if that does the trick. We'll just wait for him to come back and fill in noise in the meantime. What is the name of that tune? Because I used to know it and now I'm blanking on it. And that's going to bother me.
If I remember correctly, Spanish Flea.
Yes.
That was used on a game show. Which one was it?
Oh, one of the classics. I'm pretty sure that one's actually open domain because I know a lot of podcasts use it.
Yeah.
Let's see. It was used in...
Price is Right.
Bueller?
No,
Nope.
Justin.
Hey.
Yay! All my settings are fine. I just had to restart Hangouts for some unknown reason.
Because reasons.
I think Hangouts is just a little cranky because they got spun out from Google Plus and other stuff, or they're in the works for that. Google's alphabet is confusing in what they're doing.
And missing many letters.
Oh no, they have stuff covered for every single letter now.
Oh, do they now?
Oh yeah, I mean, some of them are a bit of a stretch. I think Q was one of the weird ones. And Z. But no, all of the letters are covered. There's a couple articles that list all the stuff that Google has under the new holding company.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Alright, I'm sharing the screen probably.
Yes.
Okay, so about a week ago, I came upon this article from The Verge, which is a review of a personal digital assistant device from 1997. and I was reading through it, and I got extremely nostalgic over my own personal digital assistant device from the 90s. So this article is linked in the show notes, but he basically goes through all of the features it used to have and all the things that were good about it and all the things that were bad about it, specifically the screen. This is still Palm Pilot screen era, where it was very monochrome. It might as well have been a Game Boy, one of the original ones. It wasn't quite as green, but you can. Let me see if I can find a good picture of the screen. Up here, does that blow up? No, but this got me thinking of my own favorite device, which is the Sharp Wizard OZ730. Open link. This is completely unrehearsed. Whoever's editing this podcast can edit all of this out. Look at that huge picture. Great. So this is my favorite device. Very similar in nature. I'm going to stop screen sharing because we're not looking at the article anymore. Well, please stop. Great. Now it should just be me. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back to the show notes. So you can get one of these on Amazon for $300.
How much did you pay for it originally?
Probably like $40, or I don't think it was more than $100. It was definitely less than that. But what was great about the Sharp Wizard OZ730 was that it had a huge modding community. And you could sideload software, custom software that other people had written, just through the PC, through Windows 95 and Windows 98. Apparently you could still do it in 2000, but it doesn't work with XP or any of the other new operating systems. And you did it through a serial cable, if I remember correctly. So,
sounds about right.
Yeah. So a little bit older, before USB was even a thing. And yeah, it had a pretty high resolution screen, especially for the time. The keyboard was very responsive, and I could load up pictures of maps and blueprints. I used to bring it into work on one of my summer jobs when I was in high school, working on my neighbor's sprinkler system. So I'd have the map of his property where all the sprinklers were and a bunch of instructions. So that was really great. And it also had a lot of, like I said, the programs and games that people would program. There was a great Worms-style game where, you shoot the tank over the mountain. That's a very classic game. But this was like Worms-style, where there's like 12 tanks and 40 mountains. And It was multiplayer, and it was pretty ridiculous. Because that wasn't a thing back then. But it was still really fun. I don't know what ended up happening to it. I think over the years, through the sprinklers, I got it too wet and it eventually broke. But that was my favorite personal digital assistant back in the day. And I was trying to think of, as a talking point, what was everyone's favorite productivity device growing up? And I apologize for the cicada that just decided to start talking in the background.
They want to join in the conversation.
I guess. And it's gone. So, yeah, I was thinking, how would these devices hold up today in the modern era with cell phones and whatnot? And I actually think that the Sharp OZ730, screen aside, would actually hold up quite well. It was very responsive. It was very easy to use. And again, the modding community is basically like, remember in high school when you had your TI-83 and you would play Drug Wars on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone from our generation remembers that. So it was very similar to that, where it had a very easy programming language. People would write their own software, write their own games, and there was a big website dedicated to people just uploading all their programs to it. And it was simple enough where there wasn't really. I hate this world. It was very simple, where there wasn't like enough things that the device did to warrant like viruses and whatnot. Like, what's the worst thing it can do is wipe out your hard drive, and then you just reset it, factory reset with the button in the back, and that's fine. So yeah, I think that screen aside, it would have held up really nice. I think that they could do something like where the Kindle e-ink thing and have like a nice personal digital assistant with e-ink in a similar style where it was very lightweight. The battery would last forever because it would only update, on refresh. You probably wouldn't be able to get away with a lot of video games, but you could probably, do a lot of like text-based adventure stuff, and it'd be mostly for productivity. So, you throw an e-ink screen in there, and you'd be all set to go. And I always wondered why modern calculators don't use e-ink screens for everything except like maybe a single line where you type in the equation. I feel like the TI-83 or the 89 would be really great if it had an e-ink screen except the input line, and that would be LCD. I mean, that would save tons of battery, but I guess at the time the technology wasn't there yet, and they can still sell their old crappy calculators for the exact same price that they could 20 years ago. So I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, if they already have the product line already set up, changing that is probably pretty complicated and potentially costly,
Right.
at least in the short run, so investors would get cranky.
Right, and then they'd offer this like really new calculator for $300, and then people would be like, but the TI-89 is also $380, and that has like a tenth of the hardware capability, and then they wouldn't be able to sell those. So yeah, I can see that being an issue. But other devices that I had, I had a Palm Pilot at one point. I think CJ, you had that on your list.
Yep.
But other than that, and then gaming devices, like I've had every Game Boy iteration since it came out. But other than that, I wasn't really a big tech head when it came to devices. I didn't grow up very wealthy enough where I could afford, electronic devices all the time. I didn't even get a cell phone until I was in college.
You mean you didn't have a Nintendo and a Sega system at the same time?
Oh, God, can you imagine? I didn't even get a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I had to go to my neighbor's house to play his SNES while I was playing the old NES. And the only time I ever played Sega in my entire life was when I went to the dentist, because our dentist had one for some unknown reason. And we never had like an Atari 2600 or anything. That was just sort of like right after the generation that I grew up with.
I have one.
And my parents didn't really have any of that, even though they worked for digital. So you would think that they would have a lot of electronic devices, but I guess not. They didn't have, a Tiger or anything. We had an old Tandy that had a couple colors. I guess you could say my parents were always PC people. I always had a computer growing up. Starting from the 286s. My friend and I would go to abandoned warehouses and like pick up old computers and splice them together, figuring out what bus code needs to be applied for which driver and going into the BIOS, and oh man, it was a huge mess. At one point, we obtained about 150 Mac Classic 2s, and our plan was to link them all together in some sort of mega network hub. But we never ended up doing that because it was a little bit too much, even by our standards. What other devices did people have, and how do you guys think they would hold up today? I'm going to call on CJ to go first because he's on the list first in the show notes.
Fine.
God forbid we have a natural conversation.
I don't remember specifically which Palm Pilot I had, but it was one of the older or earlier models. And that was back in high school. And it was mostly just reminders of all the homework assignments that I just never did anyway, because that was me back in high school. But I also had, I don't think I had a TI-83, I had a TI-81, because I never needed the 83 for any of my math classes. And they were frustratingly specific about which one you needed, because the button layout changed depending on which model. But it was mainly the Palm Pilot for stuff that I put in there and then ignored. I wasn't really productive for anything back then, unless it was reading books. I was definitely a big pen and paper, notepad type of person, even back then. And I've tried various to-do list styles, reminder systems, but really that was the main one for me.
Yeah, looking at the show notes, it looks like a lot of you are analog people, even back in the day.
And I had to look it up specifically so I didn't get it wrong, but the first computer that I had was apparently an Apple IIc.
Nice.
And I had the word processor, but no printer for it, which was a little annoying. The first
You have a dot matrix printer?
I did, but I didn't get that until I got my godfather's old PC, which was running Windows 3.1.
Yes.
The only
Best
Windows
operating system to
OS
see.
I could not crash. Although I'm sure nowadays I probably could if I really tried, but back then that thing was unbreakable.
I managed to crash 3.1. I managed to crash everything. But then again, I tinkered the most.
I had a Windows 95 skin on my Windows 3.1 because my computer wasn't good enough to have Windows 95. And I was jealous.
That was back when DOS was a thing, and you actually had to boot up in DOS specifically to play certain games and do things.
Unless you got fancy with the autoexec.bat file and had it run Windows automatically and skip DOS when you booted up your computer.
Yeah, well, I was too lazy for that.
Like that was one of my favorite Windows 3.1/95 tricks. So I didn't want to deal with DOS. I just wanted to go straight into Windows.
In regards to what I used in the past versus how it would hold up now, I think the Palm Pilot would, as far as like the software in it, we have the same stuff now, just on newer technology. Like we still have calendar systems, to-do checklists, reminders, alarms, all that. So, I mean, technically, yes, it could still be usable now, but there's even my old Kindle, which is pretty cranky now, is faster than the old Palm Pilot. And e-ink technology is still getting better and better. So that would probably be a better option in the future. Especially as I saw that they're getting a lot better with the foldable electronic stuff now. So probably 10, 15 years from now, they'll actually be able to do more fabric-style electronics with e-ink technology, if not color e-ink level stuff. That would be fun. Windows 3.1, I don't know how well that would hold up nowadays. I do still technically have it formatted on a hard drive in my basement, thanks to Calvin.
Wait, I helped you with that?
In first college. I actually still have the floppy disks, too, for the installation. We managed to put it all onto like a 10 gig hard drive, the whole OS and stuff.
Oh yes, I did. I did do that. Yeah, I remember that. I totally forgot about that. I'll tell you one even better. I was actually able to get Windows 3.1 to run on my my Android tablet.
That would be awesome.
I'm not going to give away the secret on the podcast, but I'll tell you guys about it after the show. Podcast. You shouldn't have to.
I'm intrigued. We'll talk later.
All the podcast listeners, too bad.
Maybe someday in an
Unless-
NSFWN episode.
Yeah, I might be willing. Might be willing to spill the beans there, but not tonight.
Will, it looks like you were very analog looking at the show notes. Did you have
Yeah,
any
you-
digital devices?
As a kid, no. Over the years, my creative for writing and art and everything is all pencil and paper, pen and paper, analog stuff, nothing digital. I think our first PC ran Windows 95. Might have even been 98. I think it was a Gateway. Might have been a Dell. I know we had a Dell and a Gateway at some point. I don't remember which was first. And at that point, I would work in just Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word. No handheld devices. When I was a little kid, we had an electronic typewriter or word processor, whatever you wanted to call it. I actually found an image. I don't remember if this is exactly the one I had, but it was very similar to this one. Screen share, entire screen, share, and change. This bad boy here. This brother
Jesus, it looks like an oscilloscope.
Yeah.
Seriously.
This one is the Brother WP1 electronic typewriter, complete with screen, keyboard, floppy disk reader, and printer. The one I had as a kid for a brief time was, if it wasn't this model, it was very similar to this model. It had a lot of the same features, and it looked very similar to this bulking thing. It was there for a little while because I thought it was like, this is really cool.
Brother, as a company, has pivoted quite a bit over the years. Now they make label makers. I'm sure they make
I think they
others
made label makers then too.
Oh.
So yeah, I used this for a little while as a kid.
That printer, really quiet, probably.
Oh yeah, it was one of those ones that had the paper had the little tear off holes on the side to push it through.
Track paper,
Yeah,
yeah.
you had a ribbon printer.
Yeah. So
I
That
miss
was
my
a-
ribbon printer.
that was the first computer I had, and then it was years later before we actually got a PC computer.
I miss folding the edges into paper origami springs. You could
Oh my god, I
basically
used to do that too.
Yep.
Mhm. So yeah, I don't know how well that device would have held up to now. Probably have to upgrade the printer, and the floppy drive would probably have to be replaced with like USB. Might have to
Now-
throw some Wi-Fi in there.
I saw it had a folding keyboard. Was
Uh-huh.
this thing considered portable?
You might have noticed it had a handle too.
I
that
did
actually
notice
folded
that.
out. The one I had, I don't think it was a folding. I think it was a detachable that was plugged in by a little wire, like one of those coily old phone cord wires, and it actually folded up and snapped onto the front. And then there was a handle. So yeah, technically that was portable. And
Not bad as portable as some of our typewriters that we have.
I think it plugged in with an AC adapter. So yeah, as a little kid, that was the closest thing I had to a technological device. Other than that, it's just pen and paper, which stands up to the test of time really well. Never crashes. You never have to worry about corrupt files or data crashes or viruses or anything like that. Most you got to worry about is running out of ink in your pen.
Yeah, then you have to worry about fires and moths and ink smearing and losing all your notebooks or...
Having them glued shut.
Yep. Yes, having them all glued shut.
The biggest problem I've had with archiving my handwritten stuff is not all of the paper was exactly great quality. The paper is yellowed and degraded pretty significantly, and depending on the pencil or pen you use, even that can fade or change considerably. Even within a decade or so. Much quicker than I would have thought.
Hey, even computer cases back then used to fade into this off yellow. Everyone remember that off yellow color computers eventually got?
Yep.
Yeah. I think the word processor I had was already starting to go off yellow.
Hooray, UV radiation.
But yeah, that was it for me. And like I had a TI-83 calculator. I had a TI-89 calculator that was required for a class I took at one point. But I didn't have any fancy apps on it. I just used it for my math classes and my physics classes in school.
Didn't have Zelda on your TI-83?
No, I had Zelda on my Game Boy Color.
Okay, I can see where that might be preferred.
My Nintendo Entertainment System. I did have a Nintendo and a Sega at the same time. I had the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Genesis at the same time. And then I didn't have another console until the Nintendo 64 came out.
I skipped the NES and was given the Super NES. And then I didn't get a new system until I was basically gifted an N64 in college.
Yeah, years later I purchased my own N64 and my own PlayStation, but anything between the N64 and the Sega Genesis I didn't even really have much access to. So I missed out on all the Super Nintendo stuff and Dreamcast stuff and Sega CD drive stuff. And
So my parents at one point offered us a deal for Christmas. They said that they would combine our 3 Christmas budgets between me and my 2 brothers and buy a PlayStation when it came out. And so you would think I would be like, yeah, of course, get a PlayStation. But no, there was this toy expandable Death Star that opened up into a playset. And I really wanted that. And I wanted a PlayStation, but I really wanted this collapsible Star Wars Death Star playset. And so I said, no deal, and get me the Star Wars playset. And so I missed out on a PlayStation for like a year.
you still have the Death Star?
No.
Oh.
Somebody might have it. I don't know what happened to it. It might be in a box of toys at my parents' house.
Maybe if you can reclaim that, it might all be worth it.
It actually had a tile on it that, when you flipped the tile upside down, you saw Uncle Owen and company as skeletons on the board. I thought that was a little grim for a kid's toy.
A little depressing. I don't remember them being on the Death Star.
Well, no, the Death Star opened, and then it was a Tatooine playset. It was very weird.
Interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
Technically, the oldest gaming system I have is either the Intellivision or the Atari that I have, but those were given to me. I think.
What about those old handheld Tiger Electronics, very simple LCD games?
I never got to play any of those. I feel like I missed out a bit. But
When
then
I was
again,
a
we've
kid-
had this conversation.
Only a little bit.
Not much. I had one that was it was like blackjack or poker or something.
When I eventually learned how computers worked, I realized how cheap and awful those pieces of crap were. Because there was like basically 4 images that would pop up just based on the LCD technology, and it was basically a bunch of spaghetti code that like a 4-year-old in modern time could have probably programmed.
So something even I could figure out.
Yes, you could program one of my favorite games I got the highest score on was like this game where you were a ship and you had to circle a planet and protect the planet from these other ships that were coming in, but the other ships coming in only had 3 frames of animation, so you had to time when it was in the second frame of animation to launch your bullet, which only had one frame of animation. And I got really good at timing those frames. And then StarCraft came out, and now I can't do frame-based click anything.
Yeah,
My
say what you
CPS
want
is too
about
low.
say what you want about those old games, but I used to enjoy those. I actually had a Game and Watch. It belonged to my brother.
What?
It-
Nice.
My brother had all the good stuff. He had the NES, the Atari 2600, a Game and Watch. Like, oh my god, the Game and Watch was so much fun.
Did you have that portable, like, 10,000 games in one, where all the games were just, like, giant square pixels and the screen resolution was, like, 8 by 20? And it
No,
was like,
I
oh,
never-
you can race cars. And the car pixels were literally 1 pixel, 3 pixels in a row representing the 2 tires, 1 pixel, 3 pixels in a row representing the back tires, and that was it. But they were like 1 inch by 1 inch pixels. It was pretty bad.
No, I never had one of those. But like, I really liked those games. There was one in particular that I really enjoyed and got like stupid good at. It was this random baseball game. That had like really simple animations, and to this day, I remember the opening dialogue to that game whenever you start a new game. Good afternoon. Beautiful day for a ball game between the Titans and the Jammers. The Jammers team leads off. Every
And that was the only audio besides beeps.
yes, that literally was the only audio.
Yep. We only have enough room for this one sound chip for this one wave file.
Yep. It was simplistic, but hey, that was a fun game, and it had a lot of redemption value. Like, Lord knows, I played that countless times until it died.
Yeah, it had a lot of replay value, and also car trips with when your parents were driving to the grocery store. You can get in a game or two.
Yep.
Better than those games where you had to launch a basketball that was in water into one of those stupid hoops.
I played that one.
God, I hated those things.
The pain of playing those games in the car at night when you could only see passing under a street light. Because
Did I get the ring on the post? Damn it.
None of those devices had backlighting.
Hey, I enjoyed those too. But then again, it didn't take much to entertain me back then.
I guess not.
I did have the backlight attachment for the old Game Boy, so that you could play it in the dark.
See, I had a
It's like
front
a
light
little
attachment.
LED light to light up the whole screen. Didn't really work well.
I had a Snake Light attachment for my Game Boy Color that did that, where you plugged it into the little mock USB and folded it over, and it was just a little LED light.
Did anyone have the magnifying lens?
Yep.
Yes.
Like, my Game Boy basically is like modern day iPhones and their otter cases. Like, my Game Boy, which was huge already, only took up about 30% of the space as all the attachments combined that I had. You know, I had the giant battery pack, I had a joystick mod, and new A/B button triggers. Like, I modded the crap out of my Game Boy, and so that thing was basically it went from the size of a brick to the size of a cinder block, and I was done with it.
Did you get the little printer to go with it?
You know, I never had the printer. My cousin had the printer, but I did not. And I didn't have the camera either.
I
don't
didn't
think I had the
either.
camera. No, I don't think I had the camera.
Me either.
Calvin, tell me about this Civico. I've never heard of this before.
The Cyberco. Good lord. Oh, and I should have brought up a picture of it. Bear with me 1 second. Basically, the Cyberco was like the underdeveloped cousin of the Palm Pilot. Let's see. Where's a good picture? Where's a good picture?
Why does it look like a walkie-talkie?
Because basically, it was a glorified walkie-talkie. That's pretty much like. Well, it was a glorified walkie-talkie without the talkie part.
I mean, this thing looks horrible.
Every
version that I'm looking on the Google is all
Can
bad.
we bring one up on screen share for the viewers?
There we go.
The hell is that?
It looks like it melted.
That, my dear friends, is the Cyberco. This was the yellow one. It came in a bunch of different fun little colors. Red, yellow, blue, clear. I had the blue one.
I just like the precision D-pad.
It looks like a Dymo label maker that went through a punk period.
How did this get past anyone?
Thinking about it now, I have no clue. No clue in the world, but apparently this was designed in Russia and somehow made it into the U.S. and it excited stupid teenagers like myself whose parents could not afford Palm Pilots or Handspring PDAs. I figured this might be the next best thing. Boy, how I was wrong. Good Lord, I was wrong. Okay, if you can take a look at the keyboard there, it was worse than chiclet keyboards. Like chiclet keyboards, at least you can try to press it. No, you couldn't even press these stupid rubber poor excuses for input devices at all. Like you had a stylus that came with the Cyberco that you had to use to press those stupid little dinky ass buttons.
What?
Now, if you got really good with the stylus, you could get like a good 15 words per minute on it. So this was basically the opposite of productivity. I think the only redeeming value about it was that there was like actually a pretty solid homebrew community behind it, and so like there were a bunch of different games you could sideload onto it. And this was like, this was.
I'm just sideloading people's personal projects onto my hardware.
Yep, that's basically what it boiled down to. And what was interesting was all the homebrew games and applications were better than the ones that you could download from the Cyberco site. Which was just a damn shame. Good Lord.
LCD screen looks pretty decent for the monstrosity that is the rest of this device.
It's comparable to the TI-89 screen. I think it was a little bit slightly more detailed than the TI-89 screen.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like the pixel count's pretty good. But I'm sure the hardware suffered because of it.
That it did. Now, okay, this picture you can't really see it in this picture. Let's see. Oh, okay, I want this one. Here we go. Okay, you can see in this picture it had a radio antenna on it. Now, one would think you might be able to pick up some sort of internet maybe, or some sort of signal that you could communicate from like decent amounts, decent distances with other people. No, you can only talk to other Cybicos from up to 300 feet away.
I thought you were going to say 3
So-
feet.
Yeah, but think
Like, it
about
actu-
how often a person in the world was carrying one of these in America. Like, I've never even
Yep.
seen the device, and I thought I got around when it came to electronic devices in the late 80s, early 90s. And this did not get on my radar ever.
This came about around 2000. This was around the time USB was trying to get popular.
My goodness.
Hmm.
So that explains why the LCD actually doesn't look like pure shit.
Right. It
However,
was actually the rest of it, though.
right. I mean, it looks like one of those fake cell phones that you get at the dollar store that were actually just filled with candy.
At this point, I wish it was filled with candy.
At least it'd be useful.
Yes. Imagine my surprise when one day I actually came across somebody at my school that actually had one, and a message popped up on the screen. There's another Cyberco nearby. I was like, holy crap, really? Let's see if I can talk to this guy. We were able to talk for like maybe 5 minutes before the signal dropped.
Missed connections.
And how? Eventually, I just kind of gave up on it because it was, good lord. Between that and I had a friend that would like rip on me mercilessly for having a Cyberco. Meanwhile, he had a handspring visor.
Yeah, well.
Honestly, I wish I had the handspring visor, but I couldn't afford that back then. Besides, the graffiti would have like really, really pissed me off to no end. Graffiti was the writing input that you had to use to like be able to write letters and stuff because it didn't have a keyboard.
I remember that system.
I believe the Palm Pilots used the graffiti system.
It was special.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Maybe that explains
But-
my handwriting.
Thinking about it, that actually does make sense.
Well, that's just sad.
Especially see. Wow, that might actually be the reason why your handwriting actually like permanently looks italicized.
I'm not sure what to say about this.
But digressions aside, productivity did not exist when you used the Cyberco.
The only thing that would have topped it off if it was set up for Dvorak instead of QWERTY.
Or if it was just A, B, C, D, E, F.
I'd probably actually be better off with the ABC keyboard layout on that stupid thing. Man, oh man, that was all types of pitiful. Ugh.
Well, let's never discuss this device again.
Here. In terms of things that I was actually able to be productive on, since we all talked about old computers, my first computer I got back in 1990. It was basically the size of my desktop now, but but long ways. I have a giant Alienware looking desktop right now. You can't really see it, but
Oh, you're still screen shared on my screen. I don't know if that's just
Yeah.
me.
oops. Stop. Okay,
There you go.
but my desktop, excuse me, my desktop now is like the size of like one of those like Alienware PCs from like 10 years ago. My PC from 1990 was about that size, but you could lay it flat, and it only had 2 programs on it. It was completely DOS based. It didn't have Windows on it at that point because probably because the hard drive on it was probably a good maybe 40-50 megabytes if you're lucky. But the only 2 programs I had on it were Perfect and Print Shop. Now, WordPerfect was as basic as you could possibly get. Like basically, WordPerfect looked like the DOS version of BASIC in terms of being able to type on it.
Now, was it like, have you ever used like Lotus back in the day?
Yes.
Where the computers couldn't display other fonts besides the standard font, so to indicate that it was going to print in bold, it would be pink. The font color would be pink, and then if it was going to be italicized, it would be brown. And you're just like,
That's exactly how it worked. Down to a T. Oh, man.
hot garbage.
But it was 1990. I was 5 years old. I didn't know any better, nor did I really care.
I was just happy that Print Shop came with clip art at the time.
Right? And my dinky ribbon printer was actually able to handle like all the graphics and banners and flyers and stuff that I was able to throw at it. So I honestly couldn't say anything disparaging about it. It suited my needs for the time. Eventually, I was able to. My dad upgraded my computer so I could get Windows 3.1 on it. And thinking back at like all the random crap he threw at it, there was a very interesting program. It was what was it called? It was called Central Point Software Desktop, and basically it turned your Windows 3.1 computer into like a basic version of the Windows 95 desktop. It had a little
Yeah, that was
kind
the
of a
same
stump.
thing that I was talking about. It had a start button and a menu and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, I had the same
Yep.
thing.
Interestingly enough, Windows 95 rolls around with basically the exact same thing, and little did I realize until much later, like literally like a couple of years ago, Microsoft acquired Central Point Software and basically took their idea and made Windows 95 out of it.
Well, that's one way to go about it. And just going to toss in one of the comments that we had. Pete said TI-99/4A with tape adapter.
What the
I'm
hell's
not-
a tape adapter?
I don't know, but I'm kind of intrigued.
The TI-93 Plus was the biggest one that I ever saw. And that had like the big widescreen screen on the side and a full QWERTY keyboard on the bottom.
Okay, was this thing cartridge based?
TI-99/4A. What is that beast?
Okay, I'm gonna screen share this.
What is that thing?
Mother of God.
That is not a calculator.
Where's the screen
That
at?
is. I'm guessing you hook it up to a TV.
And then what's the point? Damn, Texas Instruments.
They've really come a long way.
To a point.
I'm looking at some of the games next to this thing. TI Invaders, Alpiner, Parsec,
Oh, it's that one.
Hunt the Wumpus, Tombstone City, Munchman, Blasto, and Reading Roundup.
Wow.
Good old knockoffs.
I remember. I now know why I recognize this one vaguely. There is a photo that shows this machine with all of the various attachments you can have, including one that you actually hooked up your phone to. This was in War Games. This is the machine that the main character used to hack into that system.
Wow.
Ah.
That's hilarious.
That's pretty interesting.
And there's a surprising amount of attachments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 8 attachments for that thing. Goodness.
Is this a picture you or is a picture you found?
No, there's one. If we swap, I can bring it up.
All right, go for it.
Is that just a tape recorder attachment?
There is a tape recorder attachment to it.
Why would it be an attachment? The tape recorder is a self-sufficient object. It doesn't need to be attached to anything.
But I mean, you got the main base. I don't know what the little one is, or the 3 blank ones. Or is that like extra hard drive space or stuff? You got
There's
the
a little
phone
receipt
one.
paper printer.
You got the little tape paper, and then floppy drives. And it must hook up into a old school monitor of some sort, or television.
Never know. An oscilloscope.
I'm guessing the tape recorder tape recorder attachment was either, if not for audio, definitely for data backups.
I was going to say it's probably a storage tape device, not a audio tape device.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation that I could possibly come up with. My God. I'm sorry I brought up the Stocky Point, guys. I wanted us to promote good devices from back in the day, not awful pieces of shit that people put up with 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
We probably should have discussed it a little more ahead of time to figure out just how you wanted to pitch it versus what we had to offer up.
Well,
Because technology has come a far way since then.
yes, that is true.
Even
It's
though
inadvertently turned into a nostalgia nightmare.
even though it's
Go ahead.
even though it's Justin's talking point, I would suggest we round this one off with what productivity tech do we use now in comparison to what we started off with, and then maybe migrate on. But it's your call.
No, that sounds good. For me, about a year ago, I had a Nexus 5 for all my phone stuff, and my Nexus 7 tablet that I used to use for just about everything besides the computer, of course. And I decided to get the Nexus 6, and now I do everything on that because it's like the average of the 2 other devices. Besides that, computer, and honestly, that's it for productivity technology. I have the typewriter that I destroyed by attaching a circuit board to it and making it a USB typewriter. It's probably the worst decision I've ever made in my entire life. And that includes getting married.
As for myself, I have the Nexus 7, and after I reformatted the darn thing, it actually works fine. So I guess it was just getting a bit bogged down with all the stuff I'd tossed on it after a while. Although the battery's kind of shot now, so it's best just to leave it plugged in. I use that mainly just for FC Writer's social media stuff when I'm at work, so that it's kind of separated and I can focus on it. Most of my productivity stuff is more software than hardware at this point. I mean, I have the Mac, I have the... Theoretically, the PC works and is fine. It's set up with Windows 10 now. I just haven't really played around with it. Keep forgetting to do that. But I've used stuff like Habit RPG for to-do lists and tracking stuff. I've kind of faded away from that. I know for our stuff we use Asana to keep track of a lot of stuff and keep things rolling forwards. Google Docs and Google Hangouts is great for keeping stuff together. But hardware, it's just par for the course stuff, really. How about other people's?
I've upgraded my paper with a nice leather binder cover, and I use mechanical pencils now. No, I use like Google Drive for a lot of stuff now, Google Docs, Asana for the full coverage stuff. I've always kind of kept track of what I need to do in my head. I think I may need to join the rest of you and invest in a small whiteboard at some point, though.
I have two.
I think I only need one.
You're welcome to one.
But yeah, so for productivity, I still mostly write by hand and then type it up. And then just try to keep track of what needs to be done when in my head, which mostly works sometimes. Mostly.
Did Calvin go? I got distracted.
Yeah, we're talking about current technology.
Hmm.
Let's see, I got my Nexus 7 here. I use that for reading, reading Google Docs and Evernote. My phone, phone for Evernote. For productivity software, Evernote. Oh yeah, and also Evernote.
Hey Calvin, have you ever tried Evernote? I heard it was good.
Never heard of it.
That's a shame.
And for my non-digital dealings, I got my whiteboard behind me, and I should probably show it a little love these days. I mean, yeah, I could use an update. I'll get to it at some point.
Yeah, one of these days.
Am I coming in okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least on my end.
I hear scratchy robot Calvin.
Same here.
Ooh. Oh, really? Oh.
But if CJ doesn't hear it and he's recording it, then I guess it doesn't matter.
We'll see when I edit the audio.
Yeah. And of course, to all our viewers and listeners out there, off in the future, Post your responses to this talkie point in the comments below. Continue the conversation. And with that, I'm going to take us onwards to the highlights reel, which requires going back onto screen share. Like so. So the first piece is we are getting yet another quote-unquote reboot film, because why not? This one, Zorro, which I like Zorro. Zorro is a lot of fun. It's a great character. They're rebooting it as a post-apocalyptic film, which isn't really in lines with what the character was originally about. So,
but why?
Because Hollywood, basically. That's the only reason I can come up with for them to go with a post-apocalyptic reboot of Zorro specifically. A post-apocalyptic movie with a Zorro-like character would probably be very entertaining. But Zorro's specific history and backstory don't really work in a post-apocalyptic world. So I can only imagine why they're trying to spin it this way, other than because Hollywood. Zorro Reborn is a post-apocalyptic take on the myth of Zorro, the pulp hero created in 1919. Goodness. Reborn is set in the near future, but keeps the idea of a masked and caped stranger taking on tyrants. They could have done without the name drop, though. They could have made it their own IP and really done something unique with it.
The name drop will help it sell.
Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't be safe if it was a new IP.
Every generation has its own Zorro hero, and we're proud to be able to introduce a new Zorro to this generation.
No. Stop.
I'd rather have the old one.
It's only because I'm screen sharing, but you can't see me face palming at this.
Didn't a new Zorro movie come out not that long ago that was true to form-ish?
More true to form than this was, and I actually liked that one. I thought that one was relatively well done for the time.
So, I mean, we already have one for this generation. It's the same one we've always had.
But it's not edgy enough.
Edgy doesn't always need to be there to sell.
Oh, yeah, that movie. Oh. I mean, I was entertained by it. But it did do a bit of a twist on the Zorro character, but a lot better than what I feel this one is going to potentially be. I'll still keep an eye on this movie because I like Zorro as a character, and who knows, maybe this will be an anomaly and actually be good. But it seems like the trend of the quote-unquote reboots continues to be a thing. I don't consider this a reboot, though, because they're just taking the name. Not much else.
I guess this would be more in lines of a reimagining.
Yeah, an adaptation.
Is he going to carve the letter Z into a wall using a lightsaber?
That would be entertaining. But I don't know. We will have to find out. But yeah, that's a thing. Next up is something that I did not post, so hopefully whoever did can speak better about this one.
Yes, so I don't remember what GBP stands for, but it is a lot of money.
Great Britain pounds.
Pound?
This is, I think it might be a giga British pound because. Oh wait, that's how much they raised. I forget. This isn't the Kickstarter UI. They're looking for 1.85 trillion Great British pounds because these architects want to actually put up an actual life scale. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the Minas Tirith from Lord of the Rings. They want to actually build it. And this is kind of the thing that I hate about fundraisers, where you put something up that's obviously not going to get funded just so you can get a little publicity for your Twitter, essentially. So I thought this was cute and was, book-related, kind of, and just thought it was interesting that they even spent the time to put this up. But some of the rewards are, spend a night with one of your loved ones in one of the peasant rooms.
I think Will noticed one of the best ones for £75.
3 hairs of Galadriel. Oh, God. I don't think that was there when I looked at it.
I didn't know the Lady Galadriel was involved in this Indiegogo campaign.
That's some pretty impressive support.
I think... I don't know. I don't know what to think about this one.
I am kind of impressed that 19 people went for the Night for 2 at Minas Tirith.
Well, it's easy to claim that you're going to commit to something when you know it's going to fail.
Yeah, but what happens if, for some odd reason, it actually does go through? Then what?
I hope you have 900 Great British pounds to throw away. You're not
Honestly,
even...
it'd probably be worth it at that point, just to be a part of history.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. According to Thing, you're not even staying at the Minas Tirith, though. You're staying at a 2-star hotel in the nearby city.
Yeah, all-inclusive night at one of the city's 300 2-star lodgings, subject to availability.
Yeah, you're not even actually getting to stay at the Minas Tirith. You're just staying in the area of.
Right, it's one of the peasant hovels within the city wall, but not the actual main building. So yeah, I thought we would all get a good chuckle out of that, so that's why I linked that into the show notes this week.
I'm kind of intrigued as to how they'd managed to complete the project by the end of 2023. I feel like it would take a bit longer than that for something of that scale.
Well, if they did it traditionally, they'd have to carve it out of the mountainside.
Which is why it would take a little longer, considering that scale. Not to mention, I'm sure there would be orc raiding parties every once in a while.
Are they going to have the white oak in the court?
They'd better. That might cost extra, though.
But it can only be in full bloom when there's the when an appropriate king is crowned.
All right, the next one is also not mine.
This is also mine. About a few weeks ago or so, the U.S. team made a giant fighting robot, as you can see on the left. And they're basically like, America, we're the best. Screw you, Japan, and your stupid robots. And then Japan was like, no, screw you. We also have a giant fighting robot that we've been building. And look how much sweeter it looks than your crappy old robot. So now the U.S. team is like, well, crap. They literally threw down, so we have to upgrade our robot. And that's what this this fundraising campaign is for. And this one looks like it's actually going to succeed. It's only been like 2 days, and it's already halfway funded.
Then again, it only needs 500,000.
Yeah, not 1.85 trillion. So, and there's there's some interesting stretch goals. Like if they get 1 million, they're going to redo the entire bottom half terrain algorithms and whatnot. Check it out in the show notes. And one of the prizes that I really like is there's a 3D printed model of one.
Yeah, that one looked pretty nice. Yeah, they upgrade the base for high performance.
And then they have new melee weapons. Flamethrower, giant fist.
Looks more like a mech shotgun with just a boxer's glove on it.
So I'm going to donate to this project, but I haven't decided at which tier. Because some of them are really cool where you will get to actually drive the robot and beat the crap out of a Prius hanging from a chain. And that sounds hilarious.
$5,000 to punch a Prius. That's admittedly pretty amusing.
I think the 1.5 million stretch goal is important. The Hollywood grade paint job. I think that's what's going to have us stand out. So hopefully you can get to that high.
I'm definitely interested to see if they make it to at least get the dynamic balancing algorithm. It's all I can I see the GIF that they have under in that category, and all I can think of is the Boston Dynamics robot that they've
Big Dog or whatever.
One of the many Boston Dynamics robots they've been putting together, especially the one that came out recently that runs through the freaking forest. Have you guys seen that one?
Okay, to be fair, a mech that had a giant chainsaw on it would be pretty fun to see. Especially if they managed to make it smoke a cigar. And I just realized that the shoulder cannons are bald eagles.
Oh yeah, that's important.
It is the most patriotic poster ever created.
Yes.
So basically, you want to make this the most America as you can possibly make it.
Even the 3D printed model version has a little cigar.
Yes.
So I'm thinking of going on that route. I don't know if I'll be able to, fly to San Francisco, get a hotel for a couple of nights easily and cheaply to go see this thing in action, but it looks pretty awesome.
I don't know, if you manage to afford the $500 version, it's all signed by Grant Imahara and the whole team.
Nice.
And sponsored by Autodesk. Huh.
Yeah, Autodesk gets its hands all over the place when it comes to engineering.
Yeah,
good like that.
No, it fits. Makes sense.
I'm definitely intrigued.
And that one has a whole 29 days to go. Next up, very interesting thing that I found amongst my news feed. They call it drinkable paper, which basically boils down to it's a chemically treated paper so that you can use it as a water filter.
Oh.
They're basically putting it all together as a giant book with various perforated sheets that you can pull out, and then use each sheet as a water purifier. And I believe it even came in like a little plastic case that is set up so you can use that as the water filter. I just thought that was really cool and rather clever. And they actually have an Indiegogo campaign themselves to make that a thing.
I'm definitely interested.
They go on about how a lot of places don't have drinkable water for various reasons, and there are plenty of places out there where that's true. And something like this would be pretty clever to have, just a book that you could stow away or store on a shelf or something and use only as needed. And I think on their website they specify some details as, like, is it a single-use piece of paper? Can it be used a couple times around? Stuff like that. But that one piqued my interest. And I feel like
Wow.
for a smaller scale, like a chapbook-sized one, that would be really nice to have when going camping or something. But I presume that's a little farther down the road once they get this giant thing kicked off. And they have all sorts of stuff on their website talking about it and articles and news to go into greater detail about it for those that are interested. And the last piece is a website that I just found while wandering looking for various tutorials, Fantastic Maps. Now, while they provide a lot of maps and logos and stuff, they also have a tutorials page, which gives you a lot of posts about various styles for creating maps. Not just world maps or treasure maps, but even something as simple as a D&D tile to show elevated steps and stuff like that. They have a whole slew of different styles and either hand-drawn or digital for this or that. And even isometric houses. So if you're focusing on world building for any portion of time, this might be of interest for you. I know I spent a good 20 minutes just skimming through all of the articles they had and coming up with ideas like, I could use this for X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. Like how to draw mountain ranges. I never really thought about what the process for that would be, but they make it seem pretty straightforward. So definitely a cool site worth checking out if you're into creating your own maps for either D&D or world generation or video games or anything else for that matter, or if you just want to check out how some of these things are done. And all of the links to the highlights that we've talked about in the show notes for episode 105 over on fcwriters.com under the Word Ninjas Live page. And those are your highlights for this week. Onwards to the productivity and inspiration segment. I've spent, I don't know, about 5 or 6 hours over the last week focusing on character profiling and organization for Ashen Sky. And not much else creativity-wise because my main focus was being a distractionary distraction during a distracting weekend because it was needed. And I'm glad that I had the time and ability to do that. But I haven't really done much creative stuff otherwise because that took up a good portion of time. So I don't really have much to report other than Ashen Sky is slowly trundling along. How has Will fared over the past week?
Not really anything new as opposed to the past few weeks. I've still been writing and having a lot of fun doing it. I should almost be done with this short story, and I'm hoping to get back into Roommate right afterwards. I completed the Inconceivable interview for Not Suitable for Word Ninjas that came out this past weekend on the 15th. It really was an amazing interview.
That one was a lot of fun.
I'm glad we could get it out before Inconceivable. Wait, is that what's next? No, your mini-con's
Yeah.
next. Inconceivable is... No, wait,
Inconceivable is next weekend.
too many conventions. I'm getting them all confused.
If you want, I could always find more.
That's okay. I think Ed would kill you first, though.
And then
And,
Justin for spending money.
And just more of the usual work, working on Game Break, recording, editing, trying to figure out the most efficient way to do things and get the stuff done, on top of doing the usual stuff for life and still unpacking stuff in the new place and all that fun stuff. But anything like new or crazy.
How about Justin?
Haven't been doing a ton. I've been prepping for wedding shenanigans next weekend.
You're getting married?
No, already married. Friend getting married, but I'm in the wedding party, which makes it more complicated and involves a lot of travel and logistics. And around the same time, I'll be picking up my wife from the airport and trying to work and not use up vacation days. And so it's kind of a mess schedule-wise, and I haven't gotten a lot of other stuff done besides that. But it should be a fun time, and that's why I won't be around next weekend or next Wednesday on the podcast, because I will be driving to the wedding. And there's going to be a lot of downtime at various hotels, so hopefully I'll get some writing done. I'm hoping to get some stuff done tomorrow, and Friday morning I'm not doing anything. So, and I'll be stuck in a hotel room by myself. So I should be able to get some stuff done. I've been eating some Soylent style food, which is basically one of these.
Is it green colored?
No, it's not green. It's chocolate flavored and not made of people. So what it is, it's one of those, the dream of every engineer is to just drink the same thing 3 times a day and get all your nutrients that you need. And this is one of those things. And I'm still early on, and I haven't done a full 100% replacement yet. I've been building up to it. I'm replacing 2 out of 3 meals right now, and probably after wedding season, I'll be replacing 3 out of 3 meals. There's some side effects that are interesting, some are beneficial and some are too disgusting to talk about on air.
You have superpowers now.
I have a superpower that is quite disgusting, and, that I found out today. And so yeah, I will be writing about that on the website as I get closer to a full replacement and talking about my experiences, so keep an eye on that. Been doing some planning and budgeting just for life things, just kind of getting stuff in order, and just trying to figure out what I want to do. And working on some writing prompts. I decided to get all my writing prompts that I had submitted already to the MuseFood and put them up on the website and keep adding to it, and also adding to the MuseFood pile as well. Gotta keep up on my homework. 10 sentences a week, and we'll be posting that online as well. So trying to just throughput a lot more stuff onto the website itself.
Nice.
But you probably won't see or hear a lot of me being productive until the beginning of September. And then Nano season's pretty soon. Shh. It's getting closer. Shh. I hope you guys have a plot. Maybe some character outlines.
I'm still figuring out events. Never mind my own stuff. And what has Calvin been up to over the last week?
Sorry about that.
Being distracted by a puppy?
Yes. Let's see. I got the videos up from AkaiCon. That's pretty much all I've had the energy to do. Yeah, this week has been kind of a bust. I'm slowly trying to recharge right now. It's just kind of slow going right now. But,
I know that feeling. I still want to watch Poke Church. I still haven't watched it.
It's absolutely out of control, and you're gonna enjoy it.
At least the other two I was there for.
Right.
But yeah, that is worth noting to the viewers and listeners. All the AkaiCon stuff that we had is now up.
Yeah,
Just
check out our
in time
YouTube
for
page.
Inconceivable. Where I think we're going to have more than 3 videos.
Yeah.
Maybe while we're in the same hotel room, we can figure out the shenanigans for the title overlays, so I can take some of that work off your hands. And he disappeared. I think he pushed the wrong button.
Sorry about that.
Did you push the eject button?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that.
I will be more careful next time. But yeah, we'll figure stuff out.
Hmm.
I'm still trying to figure out how I want to work out my whole recording situation. Specifically, recording for longer than a half hour at a time.
Strategically.
Yeah, we'll figure out strategery some other time.
Like next week.
Sounds about right.
And speaking of strategery, hey, there are events. One next weekend. Inconceivable in Northampton, Massachusetts, August 28th to the 30th. We will all be there as vendors and press. I'm excited for that one. That one's fun. And there's a ridiculous amount of stuff on their schedule that I want to go to and check out. So I think we're going to be pretty entertained all weekend.
You're definitely right about that one.
And rounding out our convention year is Hartford Comic Con in September. Basically a month away, on the 19th and 20th, where we will be there as vendors. Or I think technically they use the term exhibitors.
Ooh,
but
fancy
we'll
words.
all be there for that. And I know some of our friends are going to be there in the Artist Alley, Colony, whatever they're calling that part. That one's obviously up in Hartford, Connecticut, considering the name. And for the 2016 calendar, we have your Minicon and Kineticon already confirmed as vendors. And for your Minicon as press as well. Kineticon, it'll take a little longer before the press stuff goes up for us to apply. But once we do, we'll update accordingly. Just as with any other conventions that we choose to do for next year or going forward. But with that, it's time to wrap up the show. As always, if we have entertained you in any way, shape, or form, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can catch all of the Word Ninjas live episodes, see all the various panels and workshops and shenanigans that we get up to while at conventions, any interviews that we do offhand. We have the Game Break series still going strong on, is it Mondays or Tuesdays now? Tuesdays?
It's been Tuesdays as of late.
Yeah, Tuesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Which reminds me, I got to upload tomorrow's video so that it posts for Thursday. And we also have our weekly creative prompts on Saturdays, so all sorts of good stuff for you. Definitely worth checking out. And as always, you can always just watch, comment, and thumbs up all of the various things that we do there. If you want to talk to us via social media, we're over on Twitter at FCWordNinja, over on Tumblr, fcwordninja.tumblr.com, and Facebook, facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. Converse with us, talk to us, ask us questions that we can discuss on future episodes. And of course, if there's any news pieces or websites or campaigns going on that you want us to check out, send us an email or talk to us via social media, let us know, and we'll add it to the list. If you want to fund all of our various crazy shenanigans and endeavors, help us get our story cards put together, or help us put together the next book, or just help us travel to conventions that are preferably not 17 hours away, go check out the Etsy store. We have all sorts of shiny baubles for you, from buttons to bookmarks to our latest ebook with audiobook bundle. We also still have our little Writer's Block Ninja plushies up. All sorts of good stuff. Go check it out. And if you want to track me down for whatever crazy reason, good luck, as always. I'm always running around like a headless chicken. But best bet is my personal Tumblr, which is fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. Where can people find Will?
You can usually find me on my Tumblr page at darkhom.tumblr.com. That's darkhom.tumblr.com. You can check out stuff for My Roommate's a Stripper at myroommatesastripper.tumblr.com. Not that I've been updating that because I've been writing other stuff. And you can support all my writing endeavors at patreon.com/darkhom.
And how about Justin?
As my new consistently working lower third describes, you can find me at mechanicaljustin.com for now.
And how about Calvin?
For now, Tumblr should be good. instacal.tumblr.com.
And with that, that is a show. Thank you all for joining us for episode 105 of Word Ninjas Live. Tune in next week for episode 106, just before Inconceivable. Who knows what we'll get up to then. But until then, have a good week, everyone. Go do something creative. Go have some fun so we can talk about it next week. Bye.
What he said.
Bye.